See, Krishen Khanna is a very unusual modern artist. No other modern master attained the age of 100 in the first place. The progressive artist group, of which he was a member, had artists who lived long. Many of them, Husain, Raza, Ram Kumar, went beyond 90. Husain, I think, 96 and a half, Raza, 94 and a half. But Krishen Khanna is the last standing man, 100. Now, if you look at the entire history of modern Indian art, it's about 120-year-old, out of which 80 years Krishen Khanna has been painting and has been a presence. Thirdly, he came to art from a rather elitist background. His father was a university professor. He was schooled in Great Britain and had a job in Grindlay's Bank, which he resigned to devote himself entirely to art. So here is a man who took to art by leaving everything else. Fourthly, he was not only an artist in his own right, a major artist, but also an intervener in the art scene in terms of his views, in terms of helping others, in terms of taking part in important institutional activities like the Triennale of the Lalit Kala Academy or Rupankar Museum of Bharat Bhavan. And fifthly, whatever, he has been a great letter writer. We have published his correspondence with Raza in such a fat volume, and there are any number of other artists with whom he had carried on correspondence. His imagination, I believe, has been in many ways an epical imagination. In other words, it is an imagination which covers the classical and goes on to include the subaltern. So he has painted Bhishma Pitama, he has painted Christ, he has painted Gandhi, he has painted the Last Supper, fairly classical themes. But he has also painted the bandwalas and the truckwalas and dhabas, and etc. His range from the narrative to the non-narrative to the abstract, large works, murals, 80 feet long painting. I mean, these are, even in terms of sheer craft, amazing attempts. All in all, I would say that Krishen Khanna has been a kind of a chronicler of human suffering, human dignity, human predicament, and human tragedy of her times. And chronicle all this, what you need is also an epical imagination. Because then alone you can include several aspects. So he stands very tall among the moderns. And what is surprising is about this progressive artist group that almost every member stood very tall.
Yeah.
There is no group of artists in India And I wonder if in the world as well, where a single group had such masters, Husain, Raza, Souza, Ramkumar, Gaitonde, Tayyab Mehta, Akbar Padamsi, and Krishen Khanna.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing group that way. And Krishen Khanna's case, there is also the organic coalescing of the creative and the critical. If you read his correspondence or his writings, you'll find that he has a fine critical mind. He's one artist who can recite by memory a poem by W.B. Yeats, for instance, Sailing to Byzantium. He remembers by heart parts of 4 quartets by T.S. Eliot. He can recite from a little-known American poet, Conrad Aiken. He was, of course, trained in England, but he knows Urdu and Persian. So and many important contemporary international artists were his personal friends. So he has a very illustrious career. He was one of those artists who had to leave the erstwhile West Punjab to come to India. And some of his works relate to partition. And it is interesting to note that the most significant work in North India on partition, whether in visual arts or in literature, have been done by those who were originally Punjabis, Pakistan. So, for instance, Krishna Baldev Vaid and Krishna Sopti and Bhishma Sahani, Agge, they all migrated in a sense from Pakistan to India, and they wrote some of the best. And Krishen Khanna is also one of them. Actually, Krishen Khanna came to Delhi at a time when most of the cultural world of Lahore had shifted to Delhi after partition. It was both a question of rehabilitating themselves, and for a while they were not exactly exiles, but, well, refugees.
Yeah.
And they sought refuge in a country which had been partitioned, and they had to lose their home and hearth and land and memories behind. A lot of their art was to rehabilitate that, to recapture it in their art. They both Satish Gujral, Havesh Sanyal, Krishen Khanna, and a whole lot of Dhanraj Bhagat, a sculptor, etc. They all, they were not, they were not seeking refuge, but they were trying to retain the loss, what they had lost, in both in memory and in creativity. So it was not exactly. There was must have been very shocking at that point of time, but they were not going to another country. They were going only to another part of the country. But in the sense that he has a great sense of humor. He is a very articulate speaker, the most civilized, shall we say, speaker, with a lot of fun and humor and wit in it. So unlike some of the others, for instance, Hussein spoke very little. Souza spoke largely to shock and surprise. Raza spoke little. Gaitonde almost spoke nothing. Akbar Fadamsi spoke but was very contemplative. And who else? Tayyab Mehta was also a man of few words. So among the friends, he was the most articulate, and he was also the peacemaker among them. He also sort of provoked them to remain in touch with each other, even when the group was formally dismantled, and to write to each other and to remain each other. And when they had feuds, he was the peacemaker. So he was the link between these masters. And again, in for instance, I had the experience of working with him for a while when the Trinale of the Lalit Kala Academy, and I think that was the best Trinale Lalit Kala ever held, when Krishen Khanna and Swaminathan were handling it. I mean, they were the kind of main curators of the Trinale. And they asked me to take care of the international seminar. I was in Bhopal. So I used to come. This is 78, 79, something like that. And I was quite amazed by his personal contact with, for instance, Maurice Graves or Harold Rosenberg or Roberto Mata. And all these people came to the Trinale seminar, both to see this Trinale and be part of the seminar. And also, among the progressives, most of them were also vulnerable and open to other arts. So, for instance, I proposed that this international seminar should not be confined to visual arts. We should have dancers and musicians and theatre persons. And they very readily agreed, and we had therefore Kishori Amonkar, and we had Keluchan Mahapatra, and we had people like that participating in the international seminar. This has never happened before, this has never happened thereafter. And secondly, when we were putting together, I mean, we decided there would be a state gallery of modern art in Bhopal. Till now, Bharat Bhavan has not yet been in any shape. And I was trying to persuade Swaminathan to come and take over. In those days, Swaminathan, Krishen Khanna, Himmat Shah, Manjeet Baba, they were all in Gadi studios in Delhi. And it was difficult for Swami to shift from Delhi, where he was happily ensconced.
Intensely in the stuff, yeah.
And all the way to Bhopal. But Krishen Khanna was very supportive of it. And finally, when the final decision was taken by Swami, that evening I had taken Krishen Khanna with me to persuade, to make the final arguments for Swami. Luckily, when Krishen was arguing with Swami why he should go, appeared from a room Pandit Mallikarjun Mansoor, who was staying with them. And he also added his pitch spontaneously. And it was decided that Swami would come. Well, Swami was in Bhopal for 8 years thereafter. No, 9 years. And Krishen became one of the main supporters. So acquiring works and Bharat Bhavan had in its collection bought at very, very modest prices the most representative works of modern Indian art done in the late 70s and early 80s. The best public collection is with Bharat Bhavan. It is not with the National Gallery of Modern Art or with Lalit Kala, which ought to have. But it is, and in this collection, he was a great help, Krishen Khanna. And he used to be, of course, a member of the advisory board. And when the BJP intervened and we were all thrown out and Swami resigned and all of us left, then there was a protest demonstration done in many cities, but more importantly in Bhopal. And Krishen Khanna, Ram Kumar, Nirmal Verma, Manjeet Baba, Mrinalini Mukherjee, they all went to Bhopal to take part in that demonstration. Major art is possible only when there is bold imagination met great skill. And Krishen Khanna has that great skill. So his range, his lines, his drawings, I met him only yesterday to invite him formally to our celebration of his 100 years, and he had already done, these days he's still painting, and he has now the painting being done in black and white drawings. He had done a huge 80 feet wide thing, only black and white, kind of drawing.
Yeah.
So he can handle, he in fact wrote a letter to Raza saying that I think now that I'm not interested in image, I'm interested in color. Now, reading that, I was surprised that here is a man who has handled so much color and he has used color so beautifully, so evocatively, so intensely, so passionately, so inventively. And yet, normally when we talk of colorists, it is Raza. Krishen Khanna is not mentioned, which is, I think, very unfair. If you look at the range of colors that he has handled, the bandwalas and then the various colors, the red and deep magenta and this, that, all kinds of colors that the bandwalas put on, or the truckwalas. The trucks are again a very multicolored vehicles. They are painted all over and all that. So there is a range of colors which he has used. This is one part. Second point is that the skill is not limited to small works or large works or to drawing or to painting. He had done some sculpture also.
Yeah.
Now all this, whatever he has done, there is a distinctive mark of skill. You can't find a fault. The picture, as he keeps on saying himself, holds. It must hold as a picture. And he said the theme is incidental. What is important in how do you put the various elements together and that they should hold together. That's the main thing.
The integrity of it.
Yes, the integrity of it. And the other thing is that, for instance, he had what would you call a generous taste. So, for instance, he goes to Indonesia and this Borobudur, or what is it called, and he writes to Raza that we moderns have been insisting on the individual vision and the individual effort, and we should not make this universal. because it does not apply to many things. For instance, these monuments. Now, they are done by a community of artists, and there is no individual's name even available. I mean, this is true of our own
Temples
Indian temples and things like that. Canterbury. You don't know who built Khajuraho and what was the name and all that. So that there could be great art born out of a community artistic effort.
The larger collective.
Larger collective. No insistence on individual stamp. And we should allow for it. Now, in his own case, for instance, he has been largely a narrative artist. But he has been very appreciative of those who do not do narrative work, like, for instance, Raza or Akbar or Gaitonde or Ram Kumar. They were sort of various forms of abstraction. And he was very appreciative of them. So he has a kind of a accommodative artistic vision which allows for other kinds. You see, a great artist is one who looks uniquely at the world, but by the same token acknowledges, when faced with other kinds, that there are other similar, unique ways of looking at the world, that his way is not the only one. Now, he had this generosity and this receptivity in large measure.
So one of the things which is also about his being, experimentative and open-ended. But the other thing which you're talking is also about the whole scale of it. You can take the scale to, as you're talking, is
look at what he did in
the dome of
Maurya Sheraton.
Yeah.
Now the mural, I mean, it's amazing, and look at the color.
Yeah.
I mean, there the color itself is such a sort of it's a kind of a mela of colors. I mean, all the colors there and the various things. And then he did something before this, and it was 80 feet wide. It was in a hotel in Chennai, I think, which was, and then the hotel was sort of later renovated or whatever, and they didn't have a space, so they put it into pieces. And now they have brought it back, but they don't have this space in which that 80 feet long thing can be put. So it's the range also in terms of. So there's something which one may call classical or monumental about his work. Both in the physical range, the range of space. You see, art has, like music has, and like literature has, it had two problems which one has to grapple with. The problem of time and the problem of space. What do you do with this goddamn time, which are so troubled, which are full of all kinds of riddles and enigmas and mysteries and shocks and turbulations and tensions, etc., and joys and anxieties and such like. And there is this space. What do you do with the space? How you people it? How do you fill it up? How you create a space, and how you handle the physical space, which is the canvas or a wall or whatever. And to handle them both with imagination, with inventiveness, with a degree of allowing the material also to guide you. And one would say that Krishen Khanna has been one of those who have been allowing the materiality of the objects, of color and etc., to lead to some meaning, rather than imposing the meaning all the time on the material. I would say that his, for instance, the Last Supper is a great theme in Western art, and the way he makes them, they places them, and the way they look like the Last Supper, the supper of betrayal, the supper of what you have, look like not a Christian sort of theme. It looks like a human theme.
Like baking the bread together.
Yeah, any people are going to betray the next day, but very great bonhomie and this, that, and the other. Similarly, so this is making the utterly heroic, in a sense, very human. And on the other hand, he takes the very human, let's say the bandwalas or the dhabawalas, and nothing heroic about them. There's nothing...
almost subjected to subhuman kind of levels.
Subaltern. Yes. And to make them human and to make them heroic.
Yes.
So you have this is what major art does. It pulls the heroic down to reveal the utterly human in it, and it elevates the utterly human to heights where it appears to be grand and glorious and heroic. So that's the range, and that's what major art does. I'll read out one thing. He writes to Raza, I would extend your definition to say that every painting has a base in experience, which lies in itself and in reality. So there is a distinction that he's making between experience, which has to be personal, and reality, which has to be much larger. But the image to have, the painting to have meaning, would require both. It will require a personal experience and the larger reality. It's only when the personal and the impersonal in some way meet or resonate each other that a painting would hold itself. He, for instance, another instance which I was just mentioning, that I had a strange experience in Borobudur in Java. I had heard that it was an impressive monument, but when I saw it, I was quite amazed. Its enormity and consistency quite overpowered me. The edifice was sculpted over a period of 180 years, which means that many generations of architects and sculptors kept the work. The question arises as to how they maintain such consistency of style and of quality. The answer, at least the one that comes to my mind, is that within the community, there was never any question of another style, and sculptors were quite content to work within the given language of a particular style. Hence, such a colossal achievement. By the very nature of our times and our emphasis on individual values, it is not possible for us to create such monuments. I am not bemocking the fact, simply recognizing it. And it is this recognition which makes me realize that the ascent on personal style must, in fact, lead to many kinds of art, not just one. It is therefore not rational to try and equate everything that is being done as per a single norm.
Wow.
Now, this is again, this is of course a letter to a friend, but you can see he's already defining that the aesthetic expression is not limited to an individual effort, that there is a role the community could play, and there is a different kind of art which is possible, and that we should not impose our notion of a singular individual kind of art, that there will be other form. And then, this 80 years of artistic effort could not have been possible except by a stubborn and uncompromising commitment to art. It requires a whole life commitment to art. And he wrote again, I am desperately interested in my own work, and they takes up all my energy. So he's not. And mind you, ultimately, I think this is what I would say one can learn from Krishen Khanna, is that art does not necessarily achieve something outside itself. That art is achievement itself. That art is a human attainment which is not validated or expected by something beyond art. That for people like Krishen Khanna, or for that
salvation in it itself.
Yeah, I mean, art is liberation.
Yeah.
And art is final human attainment. To whether it generates, provokes, supports, or deviates from other ideas is incidental. And this is one thing about the masters, that you can take some of the motifs, and you can try, but you will always fail, because you see, colors are not just colors, lines are not just lines, shapes are not just shapes, figures are not just figures. They are deeply imbued with a personal touch. And that personal touch is unique. You cannot imitate it. Because a line, you may put it on a graph paper and do something like that, but ultimately it fails, because it cannot be. One. Two, art over long periods has also been imitated. After all, the teaching in the schools and colleges starts with imitation. You will find in great museums of the world, any day you go there, there will be groups of children, school children coming, sitting on the floor with copies and copying Picasso or
Mona Lisa
or whatever. That is as an exercise that they realize that how difficult it is to make it. But there were times when copying was also considered to be an art. And because of those times there was no mechanical devices to replicate the work, and now you can print it, you can make a canvas print of a work of art, and unless you have a very keen, sharp eye, you may not distinguish between the original and the print, canvas print. But at that point of time, when copies were made, in our case in miniature paintings and some other
Books, even books were copied.
There were
no printing, so
books
had been copied.
Yes. So there has been that. But that was done because copies could not be made. I mean, authentic copies could not be made. You see, Husain has different objectives. Husain was a figurative painter, and in case of Husain, there is a sense of play. I wouldn't say that Krishen Khanna doesn't have that sense of play, but playfulness is not central to his skill, his objective. He plays with colors and shapes and things of that kind. You can use the word play, but it is not playfulness in the same way as Husain has.
Theatrics.
Husain is, I once called के जैसे रामलीला होती है वैसे हुसैन लीला होती है. With a sort of all kinds of things are happening and too many things are happening. Too many things are happening. You see, if you look at the miniature paintings, and you will invariably think that something more than you had noticed, and that a very small space is sort of crowded with images which you had not noticed. For instance, V.N. Goswami, while he was still alive, published a book on cats. I had not noticed that there were so many cats in miniature paintings, and there are. If you look at almost any number of paintings have some cat here and there. In similar cases, if you look closely at a Krishen Khanna painting, sometimes what happens, and the narrative art has this problem, because the moment you discover a recognizable shape, you invariably stop, if not stop, start withdrawing from seeing the painting as a whole. I mean, the figure is only a part, but because you have recognized it, your
Cognitive.
visual imagination, your cognitive functions get concentrated on that, and you do not see other things that are happening. In a Krishen Khanna painting, a lot of other things are happening, but because you have seen, oh, this is Last Supper, or this is whatever. So that is one of the problems of seeing, which is not perhaps in the older times, during miniature period, perhaps the artist would have sometimes the occasion to tell the patron that in this particular small work, what all he has put in. The other things he could point out, but you don't have that opportunity now. So there is this limitation. The other thing which he has been perhaps politically the most aware of his group. For instance, he has always stood up vocally and firmly and strongly for the causes of against communalism and against all these tendencies, and so he has always joined the agitations, demonstrations,
Out of the movements.
Yeah, it's among his friends again. He was the most deeply interested in poetry. So and sort of, but no,
Nobody has-
but I can say in the end that who's this Shakespeare? I think quoted by Eliot. The eldest have seen the most. We who are so young, shall neither see so much nor live so long.
True. Thank you. Thank you so much.